Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Historic Hindsight Presents Tommy's Tirades, where today Tommy's mad about pieces of fabric.
That's right, Johnny. I am mad about flags and the symbolism behind the flags and people getting mad about the flags.
Patriotism. So you're mad about
Yes, I'm mad
patriotism?
about patriotism, or more specifically, I'm mad about racism in the symbols. So I thought we would just run down my not necessarily top 10 list of most racist flags, but 10 flags and put them on the spectrum of how racist are they.
And so these are all racist flags. Are we? So
Well,
not all
maybe.
flags are racist, but these flags might be.
These flags have
You're
at
not
least...
saying all flags are. Right?
No. Well, I mean,
Okay.
I guess if you're a European power, at least in
It's
some
either
degree,
racist or xenophobic.
yeah,
to
at least
degree.
in some degree, yeah,
At least
yeah,
a little
it's one of
bit
those.
because it's about nationalism.
Yeah, it's about
and
nationalism and
people.
all that. And every couple, it seems like every couple of months in the media, there's some talk about a flag. Usually the Confederate flag, which is where we're going to start with those guys. Just knock those out of the way. We are not including the Nazi flag because I think we can universally all agree that
That's
Adolf Hitler.
That's probably it's the
yeah.
worst flag. Everything was bad about it. No redeeming
Qualities of that one, no,
in any way.
no.
Okay, so we're starting with the Confederate, the
Yeah,
official Confederacy flag, Confederate flag.
Or what everybody
Right.
always flies, which is not.
It's not the same.
Yeah, not the
No?
same. Yeah, the what they call the stars and bars, the Confederate flag, which is actually the battle flag, but it's not even. So, I could go on for a tirade for about 45 minutes on why this flag
That's what we're here for.
should never be flown, it should never have existed, and only existed because of racism. And if you don't believe me, you can go pluck a duck because what you think of as the Confederate flag did not.
Yeah, what you see, everything that's been banned from the the NASCAR events and everything.
all that
can't be
stuff.
flown
Yeah.
there. That's because what you would see in a rest stop near Nashville.
Yes.
For example.
Not
That's
not a real flag. Not the
anything.
Confederate
That's
flag.
not-
No.
Okay,
No.
so what was it? Why?
So
did it,
people say it's the battle flag, but it's not even the battle flag because the battle flag is actually perfectly square with a white border around it. That's more like the
Okay.
second naval jack, which isn't even the second naval jack because the second naval jack is actually a light blue in the cross, not a dark blue. So this is some kind of hodgepodge between the battle flag and the naval jack. And I really want to say that, okay, so when this started becoming popular was when civil rights movements became going on, and people thought maybe we should treat people with a little bit more respect and dignity and on the equal level.
which was 100 years after we freed the slaves.
Yes,
Ish.
And so the daughters of the Confederacy started erecting all these memorials. So about the same time that this flag becomes popular, is the same time you start getting statues of Robert E. Lee erected in Louisiana, where he never ever stepped foot.
Well, but he was such a great general that you would expect him to have statues of him erected everywhere around the South, right?
Yeah. So right off the bat, that flag, I'm just stop. It didn't exist. You're flying, and I'm convinced.
And so it was one they made up.
Yeah, I'm convinced.
They started sewing it and flying and everything.
Well, you see it in a lot of like murals of the Civil War, which most of those were also painted around the 1950s. The flag itself, I think, is like, hey, we want a Confederate flag symbol. Nobody's making that anymore. So they go to their normal flag shop and they're like, hey, can you make this for us? And they're like, well, making it a perfect square with a white border is going to be too complicated. So we'll just elongate it and we'll just get rid of that white border. And there's the flag. I'm convinced. I have no factual basis to back that up, but I'm convinced that that's actually what happened and why that flag became popular. Now, racist, awful.
Now,
it's not here.
That design with the white borders, I assume that was because they were trying to pander to England to try to join back with them after they seceded from the
maybe.
United States.
No, that was
because
just-
that looks an awful lot like the Union Jack.
Yeah, that was just dirty Robert E. Lee's
Okay.
Army of Northern Virginia's battle flag. Their standard that they flew because and it's all,
Okay, so the one you see flying today is
It's not a. It's not even. It wasn't even. It's not nothing. It wasn't even real. The only
Okay,
thing.
so what-
And so when
okay,
people
so what
say
about the
heritage,
actual one?
so when people say heritage, not hate. I mean, even if it was, well, we'll get there to the actual national one. But for that, in that regard, no, it didn't exist. It wasn't flown. It just get over yourselves. Now, the actual there were three actual national Confederate flags. The first one is the actual stars and bars, which is the blue background with the red, white, and red stripes. That was the first flag of the in which we talked about in Civil War in hindsight, how that had some confusion behind it because it looked very similar to any other American flag. It looks like the Ohio State.
That's basically, it's an early American flag.
In a lot of regards, yeah.
Some stars with a couple of stripes.
Yep.
It'd be like if we designed the original United States flag with we started with 5 countries or something.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's just bold stripes.
Yeah, bold stripes. So the stars and bars flying on the racist level, I would deem that you seceded to keep your slaves. So the heritage I hate thing, I'm gonna go there. Your heritage of what? Heritage of what?
Now now do you think it's more racist to fly it in the northern states, or in the southern states? If it's on a truck, if you're flying it on the back of your pickup truck, is it more acceptable to do that in the South and less racist, or in the North and less racist?
I do have to say, I went to Arkansas with my wife a few weeks back, or months back, and when we were driving around, you see Confederate flags all over the place. Fine, whatever, you're in the South. Yep. I did see that flag flying in a yard, and I went, oh, okay, racist, yes, but like at least they're flying a national flag, so my respect level went up just a scotch for it. At least it's
you expected them for their extra level of racism to fly the actual Confederate flag.
So I have to
instead of the actual one that people are like Southern Pride Confederate flag.
So go watch our Civil War in hindsight with the whole secession and start of secession. We even read from the direct causes of immediate declaration of secession that was done. And they say flat out we're fighting for slavery. So your heritage is that of slavery. You can say, oh, it's for small towns, farming, all that kind. Which was only sustainable from slavery that you were doing.
Yeah.
So
and people talk about it being the states' rights.
To have slaves.
It's like the states' rights to do what and all that.
The states' right to do what? Yeah.
Okay.
So on that regard,
what about the third? So we have the two Confederate flags.
The second national flag is the what you consider the Confederate flag, what we fly nowadays.
I'd call that more racist.
In the upper left-hand corner with the whole white background. I'm not even with that. We're just not even talking about that. Now the third national flag. This is the only national flag that I will go on record and say not super racist, because if you're flying the bloodstained banner, which is that with the red bar down the right side, not racist. Why is it not racist? Because that's the one that they used to surrender. So that's the only appropriate Confederate flag that we can have is the one that was flying at the surrender ceremonies, the bloodstained banner. You guys bled, you died, you lost. Done. You can fly that one. Fly that one all day long. I don't give a shit. It's just a symbol that you lost.
And if you are having trouble finding it, a white pillowcase will do just fine.
A white pillowcase will do just fine. Now, one thing that I've seen flying around my hometown and what I've seen flying around a lot lately is this awful hybrid American. Anytime I see an American flag hybrid with the Confederate flag, what the hell is that? And then now I started seeing.
Well, I expect that it is a upcoming UFC fight between a Patriot and a Confederate.
Or
that would be the only reason you would blend the flags like they do.
They need, what they need to do is the WWE needs to come up with two new like the Union wrestler and the Confederate wrestler and make them like a tag team duo. God, that would be great. I'd love it. And then they kind of hate each other, like back when the Undertaker and the Kane used to fight.
Well, it'd be like brothers that like moved to different, like they were born in like Virginia, and then one moved to South Carolina, and one moved to like Pennsylvania or something, and then they still band together and fight on the same team.
Yeah.
So it's a love-hate.
So that one boggles my mind in regards of just ridiculous stupidity. You're flying a mesh of two countries that fought each other. They fought each other.
This also has the snake.
Yes, and then the snake. We're throwing the Gadsden flag.
And what is that? What is the origins of that? Okay. I see it everywhere, but I missed its origin story.
So that's one of the original Revolutionary War flags that we flew over Charleston. Yes. It's called the Gadsden flag, and it was a yellow background and snake that said "Don't tread on me." Revolutionary War flag.
Okay.
I love this flag. Johnny, you might remember I had that flag flying in my college dorm room when we were in college.
I mean, I
don't remember anything because you were there. But I had that flag flying because I love the flag. It's like, yeah, America, screw the tyranny of the king.
And so when did that get taken over by racist ignorance or whatever?
Well, the "Don't Tread on Me" got taken over by the Tea Party, like the Republican, really radical right Tea Party.
Sarah Palin days.
Yeah, Sarah Palin. Yeah, Sarah Palin.
Okay.
And so it lost all of yay for me and just took on a whole different meaning.
Because they were trying. Okay, they revived it because they were trying to be the. That's why the Tea Party. That makes sense why they would adopt it, because revolutionary. They're the Tea Party trying to start a new revolution, trying to overthrow the government again.
Yes, trying to. Yeah,
and they're somehow not traitors, but that's all right. Whatever.
Well, yeah, and so now throwing that on top of this amalgamation of the U.S. flag and the Confederate flag, it's like all I read when I see this flag, all I see is "Don't tread on my rights to own black people." Like that's all.
Yeah, that's all. Basically, what they're trying to say.
That's all I see. I don't know what else there is to it.
It's a lot. It's
ugly.
a lot to take in,
and it's just an ugly flag.
And also, so I assume the people who fly it are assuming themselves to be rather patriotic. What are they patriotic to? Because they're flying the flag of two separate countries.
Yeah, a country that specifically broke apart from another country, said we don't want anything to do with you. We're leaving. We're going to fight a war over it where, you don't get half a million people die. Yeah. And but then we're going to mesh them together. Like, come on. Especially if you're flying this in Indiana. What do you do? Pretty sure last time I checked.
That's where I was getting at. That's why I was wondering with a Confederate flag in the South versus Confederate flag in the North. I feel like if you're flying the Confederate flag in the North, you're just racist. It's just a racist thing. You're just racist.
I mean,
it's
I guess
not about your Southern pride, unless maybe you moved up here. But if you did, you're in the North now, bud.
I guess you could argue that like there's some kind of like cowboy culture or farmer culture or something along those lines. Which, don't get me wrong, have at it with your cowboy stuff. But can we have a better symbol?
Yeah, maybe not a racist flag.
Maybe the Whiskey Rebellion flag.
Even if you're not racist and you're just like, maybe you just like the colors. Maybe it fits your theme. I don't know. It's still a symbol of racism. Everybody else sees it as that. So one of my early bosses that I had when I was in early adulthood had told me that perception is reality. So if somebody perceives you a certain way or perceives an item a certain way, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. That becomes the reality. So, yes, while you might perceive, to you the Confederate flag might just be this great symbol of, hey, it's heritage of whatever non-awful thing you want it to believe in. But the Southern pride, fight the Northern, corporate oligarchy, fight capitalism. All right, fine. So that could be your symbol, but the perception of that symbol. In the broader scope, the majority of the population, at least now, the majority of the population sees that as a symbol of oppression and hate. Well, and we've seen that because states like was it Mississippi, or Missouri, who took it out of there.
Well, everybody. Georgia's taking it out of their state flag. Mississippi's taking it out of their state flag. It's falling out.
NASCAR said you can't fly it anymore. NASCAR. Wrap your head around that.
Yeah. So, any Confederate flag, again, minus the bloodstained banner. I'll let you fly the bloodstained banner because that's you lost. That's your loser flag. Fly that one if you want to fly one. But minus that, I would put any Confederate flag. We're just gonna call it Robert E. Lee racist. That's the level. You're Robert E. Lee racist. You're there. You own slaves. You beat your slaves. You split your slaves up by selling them to different families so that way they couldn't stay together. Yeah, you're Robert E. And he did all that. Yeah, wow. He did all those things. Look it up. So,
I'm sure. No doubt he did.
So did George Washington.
I think fewer people flying that flag did that today.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
But that's the flag you're flying, so think about it.
Now, the top Google search, when you Google search offensive flags, comes up with this amalgamation. Okay.
I saw that, and I'm not very familiar with flags, but I thought that might not have been an actual flag.
No, I can't imagine it's flying anywhere. It's the offend everyone flag. But I'm going to go ahead and record and say, since you know what? Hey, not offensive. This is glorious. This is just a combination of everything.
Is this if you offend everybody, you offend no one type
exactly
mentality where you're attacking this?
I mean, it gets most groups' demographics in there. And by the way, the swastika itself, not a hateful symbol.
Oh no.
For the vast majority of its existence,
that's been used for.
Yeah, it's a peace and love symbol. The Nazis just bastardized and corrupted it.
Well, they were really good at their propaganda, so they knew what to do.
I mean, it's got pentagrams on it. It's got rainbows on it.
Break it down. So it does have the Star of David along with the pentagrams, and if you were paying attention during our pentagram episode, you'll notice that they have one point pointed down. And then they have the devil horns.
Oh yeah, I did. I didn't pay. Yeah, so it's the bad.
Evil way.
Yeah, it's the evil. It's the evil pentagram.
And the swastika is tilted on its side, which normally you would see it flat in a non-evil way. So the attention to detail here is good. I do think the rainbow just kind of ties it all together and makes it way less offensive.
Yeah, the X is a very, very typical Confederate flag looking like X too. So I like that. It's
right. Yeah, that's obviously a callback to that.
Yeah, you can find different versions of this that have even more like offensive crap in it. Like I think there's one that has the Al Qaeda, right? like word for Al Qaeda or some of the one of those terrorist groups on there. But hey, it's so offensive that I'm gonna go ahead and call it. We'll call it we'll just call it not offensive at all. This is just reading. It's reading rainbow.
Yeah, you don't see many hate groups flying this flag. And I think that's the big thing. Like they wouldn't.
Yeah,
fly this flag.
That's I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention that with the Confederate flag thing. If the KKK or a terrorist organization flies your flag, you kind of lose. The ability to say that flag is okay. It's okay.
It's like, and I'm not even going to do it, but it's like the circle game that white supremacists took away from us all. They started doing the OK symbol, and it used to be you hold it down below your knee, and if somebody looks at it, you get to punch them. They took it and adopted it as some sort of racist similar shit, and so now we can't play that game.
I have not heard of.
You haven't seen
this?
No,
I have not. Is it new?
It's new. You know the game, right?
Yes, the circle game, and you punch. Yeah, you punch the person.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore because white supremacist groups have started using it as a way to communicate, and they are doing it in the back of baseball games and things on camera. People are calling them out. It's weird.
This sounds a lot.
Anyway,
this sounds
that's a different episode.
Yeah, this sounds a lot like if you're in a bathroom stall in the guy's bathroom stall and you touch the other guy's foot from underneath the stall.
No, it's a thing. Look at it.
It's a symbol that you're gonna.
It started out like that, but they picked up on it.
Well, all right.
Like they started taking it over. And so it's an annoying.
So
anyway,
we're gonna call it so offensive that it's not offensive. That's what we're going with.
Okay, all right.
Now this one, not to offend our brethren overseas. Most of our followers that like us from not the United States are England, but the Great Britain flag.
Not a chance that's racist.
Yeah, not a chance. Or completely and totally.
It's about colonization.
Yeah. That's all we have to say,
It's not about the people you colonize. It's about the act of colonization itself. It doesn't matter who's there. They don't care about who's there.
Britannia is.
They only care about the land and the gold and the spices and the
exploiting it for everything it is, killing everybody. Yeah. So I bring up the UK flag because there's been a lot of talks in the United States lately that the American flag is racist. We'll get there in a second. Well, but you can't look at us and be like, well, that flag's awful. If you look at the UK flag and don't think the same thing, because oh my god, the amount of just
many lands,
atrocious. But again,
how many lands was that planted in, and then genocide occurred?
This is where I get into the perception is reality, because in one perception you look at that, and I'm sure any colony of the UK. A lot of them are probably going to look at that flag and go, pretty awful. Look what they did to us. Yeah. But there are also a demographic.
I think about it, and I think of Union Jack, which serves good food and lots of beer at...
in Broderpool.
Kind of overpriced prices, but it's still
God, I haven't been to the Union Jack in years. Man.
No, COVID happened.
They used to have if you drank every one of their bottled beers, you got a case of whatever beer you wanted, which is like 100 and some odd beers that you had to drink.
I got to 87 and they stopped it.
Yeah, I think you had to do that in a year or two, and then you got a hat and a shirt and stuff if you were able to complete it in a year. Yeah, basically you had to go there and drink at least one beer.
Anyway, why? All right, so this is only racist because obviously
it's old. It's old.
Committed atrocities across
we call it.
The world
it's
for hundreds of years.
Yeah, it's colonized.
Thousands,
Yeah,
maybe.
It's colonial racist. That's what we'll just call it. We'll call it colonizing racist.
Old-fashioned racism.
Empire racism.
Which is actually kind of the worst because they were horrific. And it was usually genocide levels of racism, where if they weren't wiping you out, it's because they could use you to mine the gold that they discovered on your land.
Just look up Jamaica's history and how there are no native Jamaicans around anymore. So the next flag we got.
Is that why their native language is English? It's not because they just
the darker complected Jamaicans that are there now are not. They weren't ever native there. They were brought in to be slaves to run the sugar plantations
from Africa, likely.
From Africa, from Africa,
or...
from Africa,
okay.
And then history. So the next flag I got is the Rising Sun flag, which I saw this in Japan a lot during the Olympics.
Okay.
This year, and
really, I see it a lot during my kung fu movies that I watch.
You see the rising, you see the rising sun during the kung fu movies. You see the rising sun during the Olympics. You see the rising sun a lot during like sporting events and that kind of stuff as well. Probably should really stop flying it. There's a huge, and this isn't me as a white.
Why are they flying that and not the traditional Japanese flag?
I can't.
Which is essentially that without the lines.
Yeah, that without the lines. So the Rising Sun, the history of the Rising Sun is that was the Imperial Army and the Imperial Navy's flag during World War II. And underneath this flag, you have war crime atrocities that are akin to what the Nazis did. You had human experimentation that was akin to what the Nazis did. You had mass genocide that was akin to what the Nazis did. There are a lot of Japanese, culture that views this flag as an equivalent to a Nazi flag. I don't know if I'd go that far.
But it was the flag that they were flying as the Imperial Army for the Imperial movement or Imperial time, whatever you want to call it, where they are committing atrocities. And the reason I see it in my kung fu movies, because kung fu is Chinese, is because the Japanese invaded China and towns, and I'm guessing they were not only challenging them to kung fu battles, as my movies that I watch would have, I believe.
There's a lot.
I'm guessing other bad things were happening.
It's a little bit of genocide that happened to the Chinese people.
Genocide, slavery, that type of thing.
A little bit. So there's a big...
And so that's the flag they were flying during that. And then when did they change to the... They get rid of that. They get rid of that.
Well, yes and
that's
no.
Still
yes. So immediately,
that's still an official flag, though.
Yeah. So
which is why we're seeing
immediately after World War II, this flag was banned. Like you can't banned because it was
because they lost and then they're like boom, losers flag.
It was like legitimately treated. It was legitimately treated a lot like the Nazi flag. Now America had a very short memory when it comes to the war crimes that but the war crimes that Japan did because
is that on account of the war crimes that we did to Japanese folks? You think it was kind of like a maybe.
Well, I mean, I will say that I was not a fan of internment camps, but internment camps that we had in Japan were not at all at the level of what the Japanese were doing. No. Bataillon Death March. Look that up because that'll give you a little bit of a taste.
I will not.
Of what they did to us. Anyways, no, I don't know really why because we never got tired of hunting Nazis. Like even to the day, if you're a 98-year-old Nazi walking around that committed war crimes and we find you, you're still probably going to get tried. At least shipped over to Israel to let them try you. But we did forget. Like it was like in the in the 80s.
Still see videos of all these little neo-Nazis and shit getting punched and everything all the time.
Yeah, the 60s, 70s.
We're still out here punching Nazis, but if somebody was walking around with a backpack with the Rising Sun flag
you see memorabilia and stuff
I don't
of
think anybody would look twice.
I think what it boils down to is I think it's a cool symbol. Cool ass flag. It is a
cool flag, yeah. And that's, again, we're falling into that bad guy trap of their shit's always cooler than the good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Darth Vader.
Yeah, it's always going to be cool. So I think a lot of it is just people don't know why. I think a lot of the younger generation doesn't know why that flag would be looked at as bad. So as far as
right, well, and we don't learn as much about the atrocities that the Japanese committed.
No, we don't.
We talk only about them dropping the bomb on Pearl Harbor and then us dropping the bombs on them.
Yeah, and our bombs were
End of Japanese involvement with World War II.
Our bombs were much more effective.
A little bigger. They don't even tell about the pamphlets we dropped before.
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't even tell about that.
We don't even teach about that.
Yeah, we don't.
College.
We also don't even tell that there was actually more than just 2 bombs ready to go. I always thought there was just 2 bombs ready to go. No, we had like 8 more built.
We were just gonna keep on doing it.
Yeah, we could have kept. Yeah, we just could have kept going doing it.
How many big cities you got?
Not many left at that point. Most of them were already. Anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is Godzilla level racist.
See, I think that leveling is also racist in and of itself.
Probably a little bit.
I mean, that's pretty close to Nazi flag. That's not quite genocide levels, but perhaps between slavery.
It's up there.
Between slavery and genocide.
Look, if you're gonna have a problem with the American flag, then you have to have a really big problem with the Rising Sun flag. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just.
Well, who says I have a problem with the American?
Well, the American flag or the UK flag, you have to have that's a whole nother step, even above and beyond. So, speaking of the American flag, let's come up.
Here we are.
Yeah,
so,
that's come up in the news a lot lately. Yeah, that's come up in the news.
Why is this racist? This isn't racist. This is the symbol of freedom and liberty and justice for all.
So there
for
yes, I love it. So the original pledge, Johnny, why don't you go ahead and read us the original Pledge of Allegiance that we were.
Yeah, of course. I pledge allegiance to my flag and for the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, that changed quite a bit from what it is now, didn't it?
Yeah, now we talk about God. The United States is mentioned.
Yeah,
I think.
And all that stuff changed in the 50s.
It became a whole lot more imperialist.
Which, by the way, before 19
nationalist.
Yeah, before 1932, do you know how the wee little tots would salute the flag when they were pledging that pledge to the American flag? In like the 1930s?
I can't imagine.
Oh, it was just that. That was it. There you go. They had the Hitler salute. That's how we used to.
Man, the Nazis really ruined a lot, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So much.
The salute,
so much.
Swastika,
yeah, all that fun stuff.
Iron Eagles.
So
anyway,
what I get today is this whole perception versus reality stuff. So underneath the American flag, lots of atrocities were committed. We can't deny that. Genocide of the Native American people, nation built on slavery. These are things that we did.
I mean, let's take a look at the American textbooks, Tommy. The Native Americans
voluntarily went on their
died because God wanted them to, and he wanted us to have the land. And then the slaves just nicely helped build it, and most of them liked it and were happy and were sad when they were free because they didn't know what to do anymore, and they were given such good lives. And then we built this great nation.
Yeah, sure.
On freedom and justice and liberty and equality.
Yeah, so that's the argument, is that since it was built on all those things, which we don't do a great job of teaching, but it legitimately
the
was.
Chinese railroads too.
And I think this is the whole Chinese railroad, the whole racial slur that comes out of that. Anyways, so the argument here is more along the lines of critical race theory and talking about we need to teach the whole story of American history in school, which that's what our podcast has been doing this whole damn time, is teaching the whole story behind it.
Talk about everything.
But they also want to change the flag's design entirely, and they've suggested adding 2 more stars to the flag, one for Puerto Rico and one for DC. Now, my problem with those two is neither of those are states, so you got to make them states. Yeah, you got to kind of have to make them states first. And did we forget our other territories? I mean, we have other territories, the Virgin Islands. Do we just screw the Virgin Islands? We don't care about them?
Well,
there are other things. We still have Midway. I mean, nobody lives on Midway, but we still have Midway. Do they not get a star on the flag? They should get a star on the flag, too.
Well, I don't think Midway should get a star on the flag if nobody lives there. Virgin Islands are a good point, though.
Guam is Guam still a territory?
Yeah, and you know I don't know.
I don't know. I should have looked at that.
Okay, and
well,
so
we still have territories other than Puerto Rico.
with the current American flag is that
it's not my thing. It's not my thing. I don't think this. This is
no. Okay, so an argument. An argument about it is it's essentially similar to the UK flag in that it's racist because of the atrocities that were performed underneath it.
Yes. And
that's why it's a racist flag. And are we going to recognize that and do something about it? Or are we going to just recognize that and just be like, that was how we got here, and so we continue to fly it because, yes, it was awful. Let's acknowledge it. Let's deal with it, do something about it or whatever. But then...
it is our nation's flag.
That's still our nation's flag. It's still... where we are and who we are.
Changing,
you can't just ignore it and be like, oh, well, we're not racist anymore.
See,
because we still are.
We still are. I would argue that changing the flag in and of itself is almost a racist act. You're trying to erase what we did and ignore it, and that's not going to change it. Changing the flag isn't going to change the perception.
It's just,
and here's the thing,
right? It's just the white man's way of getting around something. Is just we're not going to talk about that anymore.
And that's what I think. My fear is that if you change the flag, you're definitely not going to talk about it anymore. Now,
hell no. Except to talk about why you might change the flag.
And the other big problem I have is, again, the perception is reality. While we might, in the United States, in our own privileged sense, where we can look at ourselves and criticize ourselves, rightfully should do all of those things. There are other nations around the world. Look at what's going on in Cuba right now. They're having this massive revolution against their own government. They're finally like, hey, maybe we don't like this whole communist thing, and so everybody in the street, not everybody, but there's a large portion in the streets that are waving American flags. When wars have gone on across the world and what has been appeared to be oppressive areas, look at Thailand. Yeah. It's the same. Not Thailand. Why did I say Thailand? Hong Kong. That's the one. China. Yeah. The white man racist there for me, thinking that all Asian places are the same.
That's well-intentioned boomer racism.
Yeah. So Hong Kong is the same thing. You've got all these places that are fighting for freedom tend to fly the American flag. So because it still stands for that idea,
and that's because they're
freedom,
crying out for freedom, right? Yeah. Is the idea of it is what.
And so because of that, we can't change the American flag. It is a symbol of freedom. It is also a symbol of oppression and hate, and racism and ignorance and awful genocides and countless awful things that we will talk about in depth through this channel in the years to come. But
the point being made there is let's take it and let's make it mean freedom. Let's continue to fight to make it stand for something that is just, that is free, that is for liberty and justice for all, and let's try to do better.
Yeah.
And live up to what we have built up as a perception of it, essentially, because we've not been the people that Mr. Rogers would want us to be.
No, we are not the people that Mr. Rogers would want us to be. So moving on for that one. So the next one I got is the Imperial German flag, kind of, again...
That looks very racist.
Along with the same lines...
Along
with the same lines of the UK flag, or any... So the Imperial German flag is basically...
Okay, what flag is this?
This is a flag of Imperial Germany. So when Germany becomes its own...
When was Imperial Germany?
Like the 1870s up through World War I.
Okay.
So this is...
this is pre-Nazi Germany.
This is pre-Nazi Germany. And I bring this flag up...
The lead up to, though.
Yeah, I bring this flag up because... Okay. There's been several stories of kids bringing it into school and being deemed Nazi racist, and there's been like kids wearing the pickle helm World War I German helmets or World War I uniforms going into school being deemed racist. There's things on like TikTok and YouTube of kids like reenactors wearing the stuff and being... There is a big difference between World War I Germany and World War II Nazi Germany. Huge difference. Now, you can say that one leads into the other and all that stuff. This flag in and of itself, I will go ahead and on the record say that it is imperial racist like the American flag or like the UK flag or like any other kingdom's flag.
Sure.
But in itself, in its own context, it's not the Nazi flag. It's not Nazi Germany. It doesn't symbolize Nazi Germany. The problem, again...
Now, is... Okay, go ahead.
I said the problem...
I think I was about to ask...
I
think I was about to ask you if that was the...
Yeah, the problem, again, comes to perception reality, where you get KKK groups that fly this flag. This flag flies in my brother's house, and it's not exactly for we love the Kaiser as much as it is,
Now, and
Germany.
this is also the Iron Cross has been adapted by white supremacist groups as well.
Very much
they
so.
wear just the Iron Cross portion of that flag on jackets.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Which the Iron Cross again?
Is that the Iron Eagle? Am I making up Iron Eagle?
Yeah, you're making I call that that's the dirty Prussian eagle. No, that's not. I don't even know if it has. That's the Imperial Prussian eagle. That's all that is. But the Iron Cross, the Iron Cross maybe in and of itself isn't a racist symbol. The United States used the Iron Cross for war medals for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the cross in itself, you can't. I mean, you can't make that a racist symbol, but you put it in the right colors and the right shape on the right jacket with the other right things, and now it's a symbol for white supremacy.
Now it's a symbol for white supremacy.
So that's even though did the Nazis use the Iron Cross?
Oh yeah, yes,
okay.
yeah.
So it did trickle over.
Their dirty eagle was a lot different than the Prussian dirty eagle, though. It's very. Okay. You look at the Nazi eagle and you're like, well, that looks evil.
That's the bad guy.
That's the bad. It's like that stupid like, well, I don't remember what show it was, College Humor. What are we, the baddies? Yeah. Yeah, you guys.
Oh yeah.
If you're wearing a skull and crossbones on your hat, I'm gonna go ahead and say that chances are you're probably the baddies. Yeah. Probably the baddies. So yeah.
Yeah, that might be a sign.
In and of itself, it starts off as a old world white man racist flag, but then gets, depending on context and where it's flown, if I were to have it in my house, just old man white racist. If my brother were to have it in his house,
are we talking okay, so beyond cross the street when you see them coming racist, beyond
it's KKK. Gosh, I mean when the KKK
it's again, KKK style, so like segregation. Is it separate but equal type?
I would say
or negative stereotypes.
I would say on its own, without any other context, it's negative stereotype racist. Throw it into context like a KKK member flying it. It is very much separate but equal.
We're up into segregation beyond separate but equal segregation. Confederate flag in the north.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And our final flag, Johnny, we got there, number 10.
What the hell is this?
Number 10, top 10 flag. This is number 1. Actually, this is number 1. I'm going to go ahead on the record and say this should be number 1.
The most racist?
This should be the absolute most. This is Christopher.
Tell me, I've never seen
Johnny,
it.
This is Christopher Columbus's flag that he flew on his voyages, that he planted in all the areas that he landed at. The F stands for Ferdinand, and the Y is Isabella, Ferdinand and Isabella. King and Queen of Spain, planting this flag, doing all of his awful, horrible.
It's a real nice thing that I've never seen this flag.
It is
It's good that we have forgotten about it and moved on from it, and nobody's being like, what, that Christopher Columbus guy, except for the United States government giving him a national holiday. Other than the United States government doing that, nobody's being like, oh, he's good people. Let's keep Christopher Columbus and celebrate him.
Which we never learn about. We'll watch our episode on Christopher Columbus. Do we have an? Yeah, worst person. He was part of the worst. He's a part of our worst persons, and we also had a This Week in History about him as well. So just the awful human being, worse than.
Garbage.
I'm gonna go ahead and say he's probably worse than Hitler. Although I guess maybe he didn't systematically go out and hunt down specific groups of people. He just hated everybody.
Well, no.
Well, everybody that
it
was
just
brown.
The people on the islands
that were brown.
Yeah, who would give him gold. So he I think, well, didn't it come down to like him and Genghis Khan?
Well, he was up there. He was up there, yeah. He was definitely up there.
So that's probably the worst flag to fly.
That is, I will consider that the worst flag. This is what I call the calm your shit Hitler flag. Don't fly that flag. Don't fly that one.
Yeah. Too far.
Too far. So these are racist flags. Every flag, you know what? But that's the thing is, I can find you can find me a nation.
Well, flags in and of themselves are about nationalism.
Yeah,
and about us versus them. Like from the beginning of wars and things, you flew your flag versus their flag. That's how you communicated that we beat them. Is our flag went up their flagpole.
It's to identify who you are and what you represent.
Yeah, and oftentimes...
Fuck taxes!
I don't have.
You don't have a flag. You're not a flag person, Johnny. I've always had flags around. I like the symbolism of flags. Yeah, so that's just if you're flying a flag, it's probably a degree of racist.
Make sure it's not super racist.
It's probably a degree of racist somewhere, but keep it on the old man, the old white man racist, and not the communist shit Hitler racist.
Yeah, keep it under well-intentioned racist. That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about Mother Teresa.